Nobody tells you how expensive being a beginner actually is. You blow your budget on a bike, gear, insurance, and registration, and then the universe sends you a bill for every single mistake you didn't know you were making. I spent more money in my first year of riding on preventable problems than I care to admit out loud on the internet. But today, that changes for you, because I am handing over every cheap, dirty, beautiful hack that would have saved my wallet, my sanity, and probably a few brain cells I lost screaming at my motorcycle in a parking lot. Hack number 1. Use a tire pressure gauge, not the gas station pump. Here's a lie you have been told your entire life. Gas station air pumps are accurate enough to trust with your tire pressure. Okay, nobody actually told you that, but you have been acting like it is true, and that is somehow worse. Those greasy, sun-damaged, been dropped on the concrete 400 times gauges hanging off the side of a gas station air pump are about as reliable as your cousin Dave's financial advice. They are there for cars, they are abused daily, and they are almost never calibrated correctly. Here is why this matters so much more on a motorcycle than on a car. Your motorcycle has 2 tires. Just 2. That is it. That is the entire contact patch between you and the road, and both of those patches are roughly the size of your hand. On a car, you have 4 tires and a much bigger margin for error. If one of your car tires is running a few psi low, you will probably notice a slightly mushy feel and forget about it. If one of your motorcycle tires is running low, you are compromising your cornering grip, your braking stability, and your ability to not become a cautionary tale someone tells at a safety course. The fix costs about $10, sometimes less. Go on any online retailer right now and pick up a quality digital tire pressure gauge. I am talking about a small handheld unit that fits in your jacket pocket or your tank bag, costs basically nothing, and gives you an accurate reading every single time. Michelin makes a good one. So does AccuTire. Honestly, any name brand digital gauge from a reputable company will absolutely destroy the accuracy of whatever rusty dial gauge is bolted to that air machine at your local gas station. Now here's the part that beginner riders almost universally get wrong, and I say this with love because I did it too. Always check your tire pressure when the tires are cold. Not after you have ridden 10 miles to the gas station. Not after you let the bike sit in the sun for an hour. Cold. The reason for this is simple physics, which we are apparently doing again because apparently I love physics now. When tires heat up from riding, the air inside expands and your pressure reading goes up. If you check a warm tire and it reads at your target pressure, you are actually running low when it is cold, which is when you are most likely to be loading the bike up for a ride. Check your pressure cold in the morning before you leave. Compare it to the sticker on your bike, usually found on the swing arm or in your owner's manual. Adjust accordingly. Do this every single week or at minimum every time before a longer ride. It takes about 45 seconds, it costs you nothing once you have the gauge, and it is genuinely one of the highest impact safety habits you can build as a beginner. Cheap, easy, and important. That is the theme of today's video, and we are just getting started. Hack number 2. Bar end mirrors. Upgrade your safety and your sanity. Stock motorcycle mirrors are a joke someone played on riders. I am not sure who approved them, I am not sure what meeting that happened in, but somewhere in a boardroom in the 1980s, some engineer held up a tiny, vibrating, completely useless piece of plastic and said, "Yes, that is the rearward vision solution we are going with," and everyone just nodded and went home. On most beginner bikes, the stock mirrors are mounted at an angle and a height that gives you an excellent view of your own elbows. Congratulations. Your elbows look great. Unfortunately, your elbows are not the pickup truck that is about to merge into you. Bar-end mirrors, for those not in the know, are replacement mirrors that mount to the ends of your handlebars rather than the top. They extend your visual field outward and downward, give you a much wider view of what is happening behind you, and have the added bonus of looking genuinely excellent on almost any motorcycle. We are talking style points and function simultaneously, which is a rare combination in this world, let me tell you. The best part is that bar-end mirrors cost almost nothing. That is it. That is the investment. Now, I will be upfront with you because that is the kind of guy I am. Not all cheap bar-end mirrors are created equal. Some of the absolute budget basement options vibrate so badly at highway speeds that they might as well be abstract art installations rather than functional safety equipment. So spend a little time reading reviews, Look for ones that specifically mention stability at speed, and do not just grab the very cheapest option available because you are trying to save $4. The installation process is straightforward enough that even I managed it without crying, which is genuinely a reasonable benchmark. You remove the stock mirror, you remove your bar end weight if your bike has one, and you thread in the bar end mirror adapter. Most kits come with everything you need. The whole job takes maybe 20 minutes, a couple of basic tools, and one motivational speech you give yourself in the garage before you start. One important note, and this is the safety part that ties this whole hack together. After you install your bar end mirrors, take 15 minutes in a parking lot or a quiet street to readjust them properly before heading out on a real ride. I know that sounds obvious. I also know that approximately 0% of beginner riders actually do this because I was a beginner rider and I absolutely did not do this. I just installed them, thought they looked sick, and rode off into the sunset squinting into a mirror that was pointed directly at the sky. Adjust them so you can clearly see the lane behind you with minimal head movement, because the less time your eyes spend off the road ahead, the better. Hack number 3. Dielectric grease is your electrical system's best friend. $5 is all it takes to prevent an electrical nightmare. I want you to picture this scenario. You have been chasing a weird electrical gremlin on your bike for 3 weeks. The bike cuts out randomly, a light flickers occasionally, your horn sounds like it is giving up on life. You have taken it to a shop, spent money on diagnostics, watched 17 YouTube videos, and questioned every decision you have ever made. And the culprit, after all of that, is a corroded electrical connector that would have been completely prevented by a tiny smear of dielectric grease when you first got the bike. Dielectric grease is a non-conductive silicone-based compound that you apply to electrical connectors, terminals, and contacts on your motorcycle. Before you panic about the word non-conductive, let me explain how it works, because this confused me too when I first heard about it. You apply it inside the connector around the contacts, not directly on the conducting surfaces. What it does is seal out moisture and oxygen, which are the two things responsible for corrosion on your electrical connections. The grease sits around the connection and keeps the nasty stuff out, while the metal-to-metal contact still carries the current just fine. Motorcycles are uniquely vulnerable to electrical corrosion compared to cars. Think about it. Cars sit in garages, have enclosed engine bays, and generally live a more sheltered existence. Motorcycles get rained on, ridden through road spray, parked outside, and subjected to temperature swings that would make a weather balloon nervous. All of that moisture and temperature cycling is absolutely brutal on electrical connectors over time, especially on older bikes or bikes that live in humid climates. And if you live somewhere that sees actual winters with road salt, I am not going to sugarcoat this. Your electrical system is fighting a war on multiple fronts at all times. The application process is dead simple. You buy a small tube of dielectric grease, available at any auto parts store or online for about $5, which is genuinely less than most coffee drinks. You disconnect your electrical connectors one at a time, apply a small amount of the grease inside the connector housing, and plug it back in. That is literally the whole job. Do it to your headlight connector, your tail light, your turn signals, your battery terminals, and any other connectors you can access without disassembling the entire bike. And while you are in there, look at those connectors. If you see green or white crusty buildup on any of the terminals already, that is corrosion, and it needs to be cleaned before you grease it. A little bit of electrical contact cleaner, a cotton swab, and 5 minutes of your time will sort it out. Hack number 4. Safety wire your drain plug. Let me paint you a picture that will haunt you. You finish an oil change, you thread your drain plug back in, you feel like the most competent human being on the planet. 2 weeks later, you are cruising down the highway, and your drain plug, which was never quite as tight as you thought it was, works itself loose and drops onto the road. Your oil drains out in about 45 seconds. Your engine, now running without lubrication, starts knocking. And then it stops running entirely right there on the highway. This is a real thing that happens to real people, and it is entirely preventable with a piece of wire that costs about $3. Safety wiring a drain plug is a trick borrowed directly from the world of motorsport, where losing a drain plug on a racetrack would be catastrophic for obvious reasons. The concept is brilliantly simple. You drill a small hole through the head of your drain plug, thread a piece of stainless safety wire through it, and anchor the other end to a nearby bolt or hardpoint on your engine casing. If the plug ever starts to back out, the wire catches it before it can escape completely. It is mechanical insurance, and it is cheap enough that there is genuinely no excuse not to do it. Now here is where beginners sometimes get intimidated, and I understand the hesitation. The words drill a hole through a bolt sound terrifying when you are new to working on bikes. But let me reassure you that drain plugs are made of soft aluminum or steel, a standard drill, and a small bit will go through them easily, and you are not drilling into your engine or anything scary. You are drilling into a removable plug that costs about $4 to replace if you mess it up. Practice on a spare plug first if it makes you feel better. I support you. We are all in this together. Alternatively, and this is the even lazier and equally valid option, you can simply buy a drain plug that already has a safety wire hole pre-drilled, or better yet, one of the magnetic drain plugs with a locking tab design that physically cannot back out once installed. These run about $10 to $15 and solve the problem without you needing to drill anything. The magnetic element also catches any metal particles floating around in your oil, which is a nice bonus that tells you a lot about what is going on inside your engine over time. If you pull your magnetic drain plug after an oil change and it looks like a tiny metal porcupine, that is information you very much want to have. Hack number 5. Heated grips on a budget. Cold hands ruin everything, and I mean everything. They ruin your throttle feel, they ruin your clutch control, they ruin your brake modulation, and they ruin your mood in a way that makes you question why you started riding in the first place. I once rode home in 40-degree weather with standard grips and arrived at my house with hands so cold and stiff that I could not operate a door handle for approximately 4 minutes. That is not an exaggeration. That is a true and deeply embarrassing story that I am sharing with you for educational purposes. Heated grips are one of those things that riders with more experience take completely for granted, and beginners look at the price on OEM heated grip kits and quietly put their wallet back in their pocket. And yes, if you go to a dealership and ask them to fit the manufacturer's own heated grip system, you will pay handsomely for the privilege. We are talking anywhere from $150 to $400 depending on the bike and the brand. That is a real number. That is real money. But here is the hack. Aftermarket heated grip sets from brands like Oxford or Simtech cost somewhere between $30 and $60, and they work brilliantly. The Oxford hot grips in particular have become something of a legend in the budget riding community, and for good reason. They wrap around your existing grips or replace them entirely, depending on the model, wire into your battery with a simple 2-wire connection, and have multiple heat settings controlled by a small thumb switch you mount wherever it is convenient. The installation takes about an hour the first time, and about 30 minutes every time after that once you know what you are doing. Here is the important part that nobody tells you when they recommend heated grips. Size matters, and I am talking about grip diameter. Before you order anything, measure your grip diameter or check your owner's manual. Because grips are not universal, and ordering the wrong size means your nice new heated grips will either be too loose to function safely or too tight to install properly. Both outcomes are bad. One is dangerous. Measure first, order second, thank yourself later. Also check whether your battery can handle the additional electrical draw, especially on older or smaller displacement bikes where the electrical system was not designed with accessories in mind. A simple multimeter check of your charging voltage while the bike is running will tell you everything you need to know. Hack number 6. Chain maintenance is cheaper than a new rear sprocket. Your chain is the most neglected part of a beginner's motorcycle, full stop. I am not being dramatic here, even though drama is kind of my whole brand. I have seen beginner bikes come in for service with chains so dry and stretched and generally miserable that they looked like they had been dragged behind the bike rather than wrapped around the sprockets. And the worst part is that the rider had no idea because nobody told them to look at it, and it does not make a noise that obviously screams, "I am dying." It just quietly degrades until the day it does not quietly do anything anymore. Here is what a neglected chain costs you. First, it wears your sprockets unevenly, which turns a $40 chain replacement into a $120 chain and sprocket replacement. Then it puts extra stress on your wheel bearings. Then it starts skipping under hard acceleration, which is both terrifying and dangerous. And eventually, if you really commit to ignoring it, it can snap, which on a motorcycle at speed is the kind of event that becomes a story people tell at your expense for years. Not ideal. The maintenance itself is almost comically simple and cheap. Every 500 miles or so, or after any ride in the rain, you clean the chain with a chain cleaner or even kerosene on a rag, let it dry, and apply chain lube. That is the whole job. A can of quality chain lube costs about $10 to $12 and lasts for months. The cleaning solvent is another $5. The whole process takes maybe 15 minutes once you have done it a few times, and I will be honest, there is something deeply satisfying about doing it. You spray the lube on, spin the wheel, watch it coat the chain evenly, and feel like an absolute professional motorcycle technician, which you basically are at that point. The other half of chain maintenance that beginners forget is checking the tension. A chain that is too tight will wear your sprockets and put stress on your transmission output shaft. A chain that is too loose will slap around, skip, and potentially come off under deceleration. Your owner's manual will give you the correct slack measurement, usually in millimeters, and checking it requires nothing more than pushing up on the chain at the midpoint and measuring how far it moves. Most bikes want somewhere between 25 and 35 millimeters of slack, but check your specific manual because this varies. Adjusting chain tension is done via the adjuster bolts on your swing arm and requires a wrench, your manual, and about 20 minutes. Do this every 1,000 miles or whenever your maintenance check tells you the slack is off. Your chain will thank you. Your wallet will thank you. Your future self will thank you. Hack number 7. Foam earplugs are the best riding gear nobody talks about. Nobody ever walks into a motorcycle gear shop and says, "I would like to see your finest earplugs, please." It just does not happen. Earplugs occupy the same weird space in rider culture that sunscreen does in beach culture, which is everyone knows they should use it. Very few people actually do. And the ones who do not eventually pay a price that no amount of post hoc wisdom can fully fix. Except with earplugs, the damage is not a sunburn you can see. It is gradual, invisible, cumulative hearing loss that announces itself fully only after it is too late to do anything about it. Here are the numbers, because we are apparently a physics and statistics channel now. At highway speeds of 65 to 70 miles per hour, wind noise inside a motorcycle helmet reaches approximately 90 to 100 decibels depending on the helmet design and fit. The threshold for noise-induced hearing damage begins at around 85 decibels with prolonged exposure. That means every single highway ride you do without hearing protection is actively, measurably damaging your hearing. Not might be. Is. This is not a maybe situation. This is physics and biology agreeing on something for once. The solution costs literally less than your morning coffee if you buy in bulk, which you should. A pack of 50 pairs of foam earplugs from any pharmacy or online retailer runs about $4 to $8. That is 8 cents per ride, roughly. The ones with a noise reduction rating of 27 or higher are what you want. And they are usually bright orange or yellow because apparently hearing protection engineers also want to make sure you look slightly ridiculous inserting them, which is fine because nobody sees you doing it inside your helmet. You roll the earplug between your fingers to compress it, insert it in your ear canal, hold it for about 20 seconds while it expands, and you are done. Now here's the objection I hear every single time this topic comes up, and I want to address it directly because I respect you too much to ignore it. What about traffic sounds? What if I cannot hear a car horn or a siren? This is a completely legitimate concern, and the answer is actually reassuring. Foam earplugs at the noise reduction ratings we're talking about do not block all sound. They reduce the overall decibel level, which means the dangerously loud wind noise gets brought down to a safe range, while traffic sounds, horns, and sirens are still entirely audible. What actually happens in practice is that you can hear traffic sounds more clearly, not less, because they are no longer buried under a wall of wind roar. It is counterintuitive, but absolutely true, and every long-distance rider who uses them will tell you the same thing. There is a secondary benefit to earplugs that took me embarrassingly long to figure out: fatigue. Wind noise is one of the primary causes of riding fatigue on longer trips. It is a constant, unrelenting stimulus that your brain is processing the entire time you are on the bike, even when you are not consciously aware of it. Reduce the noise, and you will arrive at the end of a long ride noticeably less exhausted, more alert, and in a considerably better mood than you would without them. which means safer riding decisions, more miles before you need to stop, and the ability to actually enjoy the destination instead of arriving feeling like you got into an argument with a leaf blower for 3 hours. For 8 cents a ride, this is the single best cost to benefit hack on this entire list, and it is not particularly close. And that is going to wrap it up for today, my sweet budget-conscious two-wheeled children. 7 hacks, all of them cheap, most of them embarrassingly simple, and every single one of them something I genuinely wish someone had stapled to my forehead the day I got my license, instead of letting me figure it out the hard way over the course of 2 years, and a deeply concerning amount of money spent on preventable problems. Let me give you the quick recap before you go. Get a proper tire pressure gauge and stop trusting gas station equipment. Upgrade your mirrors so you can actually see behind you. Put dielectric grease on every electrical connector you can find. Safety wire your drain plug or replace it with a locking version. Get heated grips before the first cold morning of the season absolutely destroys your will to ride. Maintain your chain like your sprockets depend on it, because they do. And please, for the love of everything good in this world, wear earplugs. None of these things are complicated. None of them require a professional mechanic, a full tool set, or a large budget. They just require someone to tell you they exist. And that is what I am here for. That is, according to my channel analytics, my entire reason for being on this earth, which I have mostly made peace with. If this video helped you out, smash that like button because it genuinely helps more than you know. And drop a comment below telling me which one of these you were already doing and which one made you say, oh no, I have been doing that wrong the entire time. I read them all. Every single one. Even the unhinged ones, especially the unhinged ones, actually. I will catch you in the next one. See you later.